things can be the root cause as to why we're not getting a good night's sleep?
Sure. First of all, I think it's super important before you even start trying to find the root cause is to really look at just your sleep hygiene, like the foundations of good sleep. Are you on a regular sleep schedule? Do you have a great wind down routine to begin to relax yourself? Because stress often really plays into this. Is your sleep environment optimized? Is it dark? Is it cool? Is it clutter free? There's all those want to get those foundations down. But there are so many things that we do on a day-to-day basis that could impact our sleep. And sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking the timing of these things.
Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. Really have been so preoccupied with my inability to get a good night's sleep. I'm not kidding. It's been a consistent thing for me probably for the last 3 years. And then around 6 months ago, I found the magic formula. But in time, what do you do? And what is the root cause of why people aren't getting enough sleep, especially when you are aging and going through that premenopausal stage? And what can we do about it? Well, we're going to be talking about that with Amanda Chaco, who is an expert when it comes to sleep and the things that you need to be talking and thinking about to have a successful method of sleeping. And she got this not just from taking classes. She had her own chronic insomnia that went on for years. So I'm so glad that you're here today, Amanda, to share with us your personal experience and how you kind of like broke the code. I would love to hear what you did, because I figured it out too, but it took a little while. And in the meantime, I wouldn't say that I was exhausted, but I realize now that I probably wasn't operating at optimum only because my brain wasn't getting enough rest. And as I started getting more sleep, one of the magic, wonderful things was those extra 5 pounds I couldn't seem to get rid of just melted off. So
wow.
Welcome to the V.I.B.E podcast. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thanks so much, Linus. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about you and how you became so passionate about the idea of helping people get a good night's sleep.
Yes. Well, it stems from my own sleep issues. As you had mentioned, sleep has always eluded me in some way over the years of my adult life. And it was on and off. It wasn't something that was chronic. So I was just dealing with it in kind of over the counter ways, like NyQuil, glass of wine, sleepy time tea. I mean, all these things I was trying that, may have worked a little bit, but were definitely not a long-term solution. Now, I had some other health issues going on as well. I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease back in my 40s, and the standard of care just was not helping me whatsoever. So I went down this really holistic path to try to figure out, what is the root cause of my inflammatory bowel disease? Forget about the sleep part. That was keeping me up too, right? Just having those gut issues. And through that, I learned a lot about nutrition and health and lifestyle and stress, and really, worked hard to get to the root cause of those issues. And what came out of that was me ending up going to school to become a nutritional therapy practitioner, because I became so passionate about holistic health that I wanted to help others. So I went to the Nutritional Therapy Association back in 2017 and got really the foundations of nutrition and, how the body works and how, it impacts blood, nutrition impacts blood sugar and hormones and digestion and how that could lead to chronic conditions. So when I graduated from there, I was really focusing on autoimmunity and gut health and getting further certifications in those areas. And sleep was still an issue in the background. And what I was learning was I was working with my clients that weren't coming to me because they had sleep issues, but through working with them, found out that the majority of them also had sleep issues. So I would start working with them to try to help them, figure out what was going on as I was trying to help them with their other conditions. But it wasn't until the pandemic hit where all of a sudden my insomnia just became relentless and out of control. I just was not sleeping at all, staring at the ceiling all night, walking around like a zombie all day. And that's when I just said, I have got to get to the bottom and the root cause of what is going on with my sleep. So I really dug into the research, spent a lot of time doing that research and experimenting with different things. And out of that was able to really to get to the root cause of my sleep issues, and at the same time build a methodology that I ended up putting into my book. And now I feel more equipped to help my clients who are also dealing with sleep issues. So that was kind of my journey on how I became like really passionate. And now I focus my whole practice on sleep coaching.
Okay. All
I
right.
still help with the nutrition side and those other things because I am, capable of doing that. And quite often those things are part of the reason that people can't sleep. It's, what are you eating and all the other things. But
Well,
that's how I got here.
that's amazing that you took the time to peel back the layers to figure out what the causation is. In general, when it comes to our health and things like that, we are not normally a big get to the root cause causation
No,
society. It's all about the band-aid. Quite frankly,
exactly.
our wonderful traditionally trained doctors are trained to treat symptoms, not causation. So as you began to peel back some of the layers, what did you find in terms of the root cause? What kinds of things can be the root cause as to why we're not getting a good night's sleep?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's super important before you even start trying to find the root cause is to really look at just your sleep hygiene, like the foundations of good sleep. Are you on a regular sleep schedule? Do you have a great wind down routine to, begin to relax yourself? Because stress often really plays into this. Is your sleep environment optimized? Is it dark? Is it cool? Is it clutter free? There's all those just, want to get those foundations down. But there are so many things that we do on a day-to-day basis that could impact our sleep. And sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking the timing of these things. You may not have to make major changes in your life. So, for me, there were some things like my meal timing. We were tending to eat our meals later at night because of our work schedules. And I just really played around with that, just trying to eat a bit earlier because you really don't want to have a full stomach when you go to bed. So working with your meal timing is one important step. Caffeine, having those, afternoon coffee meetings, and all of a sudden, you have this dip in energy in the middle of the day and you think I need coffee, I need some type of caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of 8 to 10 hours. So it's still in your system. So it could still be in your system when you're going to sleep. And people metabolize caffeine differently. I mean, some people can have, espressos with dinner and not have a problem at all. But for me, that was something that I had to work on, was really, over the years, my caffeine tolerance has gotten less and less. So I had to give myself a caffeine curfew, and I was, cutting my coffee off at 9, 10 o'clock. And there's other things that have caffeine, right? Chocolate and energy drinks, and there's certain supplements and medications. So, really taking a look at that. Some people don't realize that medications often can cause
Many
insomnia.
times, many.
So, yeah, very common ones as well that so many people are on, like cholesterol medicine, blood pressure, if you're taking any type of SSRIs or, there are just so many of them. And you don't often hear from your doctor that could be a side effect.
Right, right.
So, really checking into that. And that was an issue for me as well, where I had to work with my doctor and say, okay, what can I take something else, or can I change the timing of when I'm taking my medication? So that was part of it as well. Supplements can do the same thing. Exercise timing, exercising too close to bed and raising your body temperature, raising your cortisol up. So these are all day-to-day things that can
Well, you just
impact.
mentioned something that was very interesting that I found out with my research and trying to find out why I wasn't getting a good night's sleep, and it was rooted around cortisol. Explain a little bit about how cortisol can impact our sleep patterns, and where does the rise of cortisol sometimes come from?
Sure. So, when we look at our circadian rhythms, which is our 24-hour internal body clock, that really it's ruled by, light, sunlight, and sunset, right? So all of these processes happen on this body clock throughout the day, including sleep. So if everything is working according to plan, in the morning, your cortisol is at its highest, which kind of wakes your body up and tells you it's time to get your energy up, get on with your day. And as the day goes by, that begins to wane, and then melatonin kicks in, a couple hours after sundown. So this is the hormone that's secreted by your pituitary gland that is going to help you to go to sleep. So they're really like a yin and yang, right? So if you have high cortisol, it is going to down regulate your melatonin, which is going to prevent you from falling asleep or wake you in the middle of the night, all of these things. So there are different things that could make you have unbalanced cortisol. Stress is a huge one. If you're running around in a sympathetic state and you're, flight or fight all day, run, high cortisol, it's going to make it really difficult for you to fall asleep. So that's why having that wind down routine and thinking of ways to deal with stress is so important. Blood sugar dysregulation and imbalances can mess up with your cortisol as well. So, there are different things throughout the day, but typically it's stress and it's just our go goes. If you're exposed to a lot of blue light, it's down regulating your melatonin as well, which can keep your cortisol up because your body thinks it's daytime. So those are just a few of the things for
Amazing. And
sure.
sometimes, as you mentioned, it's incremental changes. And as I has mentioned in the story of the program, kind of what happened with me was a combination of things. Of course, when I woke up in the morning, I had high cortisol levels. And when I had my anxiety disorder a few years ago, I reason why I got into this whole thing was because I had an anxiety disorder and I left corporate America to try to figure out what was going on with me. And one of the things that I discovered, of course, was the high stress levels and how to not maintain that. But also, I found out that the anxiety I felt first thing in the morning was the elevated cortisol levels. So I learned a couple of things that might be helpful. And let's see if you agree with me. One of the things that I did was, first of all, I would drink water right away. That coffee would not be my first thing to have because that's a stimulant and can raise cortisol levels. But I would drink water and then I would do gentle exercises, not going hard, but gentle exercises the first hour to 2 hours, meditation, prayer, exercise, and water. And I wouldn't really have my first cup of coffee until like around 9:30 or 10. And the whole idea was to get better control of my cortisol levels because what would happen is I would just give it another big old spike with a couple cups of coffee. And
Yeah,
then
for sure.
right. And then the stress during the course of the day. So when it's time for me to wind down, and for me, wind down time comes around 4 or 5 because I go to bed normally between, 7:30 and 8:30 because I get up at 4:30 in the morning every morning.
Yeah.
That's how my clock works. So I have to have 6 hours. If I have 5 hours and 55 minutes, that's not going to do it. It's got to be 6 hours. So I learned that not to drink the coffee right away first thing in the morning, to find other substitutes for that. Maybe I'll have my protein drink or something else, but not the coffee if I'm not, intermittent fasting. The other thing that I learned was no matter how scrunched my time was, And no matter how good a shape I was already in, I still had to make sure that I got in some exercise, even if it was 15 minutes maybe in the late morning and 15 minutes in the early afternoon, but still had to get that exercise in because I rested better. The other thing that really helped me, it wasn't the melatonin. The melatonin, for some reason, just didn't work for me. But what did help for me was to set my bedroom. I changed my bedroom etiquette and it became kind of a ritual. I'm one of those people who I may not make up the bed when I first get out in the morning because my husband's still in bed when I get up. So I will go back later. I don't care how late it is and make up the bed. There's something about walking into a bedroom with a made up bed that makes you feel, I'm going to pull that back
Yes.
into the covers, make up the bed, close the curtains, put my favorite aromatherapy. Usually it's a combination of lavender and chamomile oils on, turn off all TVs, recharge my phone in the next room over. So if one of the kids call, my kids are all in their 30s and 40s. So, they're really okay. But anyway, because I'm a mom, I can still
Yeah.
hear the phone, but it's not right there next to me. And to put maybe in my bed, next to my bed, some scripture or poetry or something that's, still maybe somewhat interesting, but not stimulating, like maybe reading my favorite spy novel where you don't know what's going to happen. You want to
Yeah,
what's going to
exactly.
happen, right? And the last thing that really helped me was journaling about what happened during the course of my day. Because the whole idea was to data dump, get out of me whatever the stresses were, whatever, and also end by focusing on what went well. And
Yeah.
then that's so much easier for me to go to sleep. Now, that sounds like a whole lot to do, but actually, when I really think about it, the whole ritual thing takes maybe about 15, 20 minutes and I'm out. I get up the same morning every day, but my sleep is much deeper. And for the first time in over, God, since my first daughter was born, and she'll be 40 in November. So in 39 years, the first time in 39 years, just recently, I finally got my circadian rhythms in such a way where I don't wake up after 3 hours. I would always wake up like around 1 o'clock because that's nursing time. It was nursing time for my daughter and my three other daughters that were all born close together. I was basically
Hmm.
for 10 years. So for 10 years, I was waking up at 1 o'clock every morning to nurse, and it just stuck. I
Yeah.
finally undid that. And I think it's because I, instituted these rituals to kind of get my mindset that I'm going to be having a deep sleep because of all of these reasons. Are any of the things I said to you, does that resonate with you? Some of the things I shared?
Oh, you are like my poster girl
Okay.
for perfect sleep.
Okay.
Look, and I always say great sleep starts the minute you wake up in the morning. And, you're just, showcasing that in the best way. Well, certainly your hydration in the morning. I mean, just through our breath alone, we lose so much water, and you hydrating first thing in the morning. That's, I do that as well. And I recommend that. Holding off on the caffeine is a great strategy, and it's great that you're not needing to have that right
Oh,
away,
I
right?
didn't
Because
say that. It took me a little while because I would say, well, only just like half a cup, it was a little
yeah.
shot of caffeine. But finally, what really convinced me to do that was the research I learned maybe about 10 years ago, the relationship between cortisol and coffee and belly fat.
Hmm.
So I was like,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
heck no.
Yes.
Yeah, really,
Yes.
that's the thing. And even though I knew about it, I didn't really incorporate it until it started showing up on me when I was about 60. When I was about 64, 65, I literally woke up one morning and was like, what the heck is going on here? Because I do
Yes.
exercise. I was a dancer in my previous life for many years. So, my abs are still strong, but there was this extra little slab of stuff. And the more research
Yeah.
I did, and I took classes on hormones and everything, and that's when I learned about cortisol and how it thickens us,
Hmm.
especially in the belly area. So I thought, okay, so if I'm having coffee first thing in the morning, I ain't helping my quest to get rid of the belly fat.
Yeah, you're right on. Yeah, that cortisol. I mean, we need cortisol.
Right,
I
absolutely.
mean, if you
It's
have
a good
really low
guy, it's not a bad
cortisol, that could be an issue. But yeah, I mean, all the things that you said, you don't want high cortisol racing through. And I completely relate to your story about the turning 60. ish and having that issue because I'm going through that now. But
Well, you
yeah, I
don't look
mean,
60 at all. I tell you, 60 is the new 30. It's amazing. You look great.
thank you. So do you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think your routine sounds right on. I mean, you have found, you did like an N equals one experiment and found what works for you. And your evening routine with the essential oils and the journaling and just doing that brain dump and getting those, all of, those thoughts out of your head that would normally keep you awake, right? Plus the what went well that day and that gratitude puts you in a better frame of mind. So you're much more relaxed when you go to sleep. So I think you're doing great.
Well, thank you. It does work for me, but this is interesting because that was one way that I cleared my mind for a more peaceful sleep and hopefully over time a deeper sleep. But what are some other things that we can do to clear our minds so that we can begin to have better sleep patterns?
Yeah. So, as you were talking about the journaling, just doing that brain dump, getting your to-do list down. So you're not like thinking about all of the things that you have to do the next day. So having that just, running lists like an hour or so before bed. So it's not just so fresh in your head, when you go to sleep, and getting that all out. Worry lists is another thing. If there's something that's on your mind that you're worried about, write that out as well and designate for yourself a worry time the next day and say, okay, yes, this is a thing, but I am going to now take this 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is the next day, and think through this and all of the different scenarios that can happen. What's in my control? What's out of my control? Maybe doing some reframing of
Mhm.
what those worries are. Are they real? Are they just stories that you're telling yourself? So that's another technique. If you wake in the middle of the night and your brain turns on, which, is common, you wake up to go to the restroom or something, and then all of a sudden it's like ping, and there are the thoughts. Doing different types of breath work helps. So really distracting your brain from thinking. So you're focusing on your breath. So there's like box breathing and other breath work techniques that you could try. Body scan meditations as well. You could do these with apps. There's many apps out there. I use Calm, but they have guided meditations where you're getting out of your head and into your body.
I love
And
that.
I think meditation in general, I had this on and off relationship with meditation for years and years because quite often, I mean, I'd be on a good streak and then life would get in the way and then I would stop doing it and then I'd start doing it and then I'd be like, is this really doing anything? But I stuck with it. And what I found from that is when you are able to meditate, and it's not like getting rid of your thoughts, but it's really training your brain almost to let those thoughts pass where you don't get caught up in them and really conditioning yourself by doing that regularly. It really helps when all of a sudden, you start overthinking things. It really helps to just say, okay, yeah, that's a thing. And
Wow.
just let it float away.
These are such great tips, and they're things that maybe we kind of know about, but we need to be reminded. And now I know that you help women with people, I guess, with sleep. Do you do it virtually as well? So if people aren't able to see you in person?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book that I wrote is actually a 5-week program to help you do all the things that we talked about, from getting your sleep hygiene and your routines and your sleep sanctuary in order. There's a lot of sleep tracking and journaling and all these lists and things that I talked about. There's a sleep toolbox section. There's all types of things to help guide yourself. And then I also do coaching around that. So I do group coaching and one-on-one. So quite often, I will use that book as the content and meet with my clients on a regular basis for accountability, support, troubleshooting
Okay, I love it. So
as well.
actually, when you talk about things that you need to have in your toolbox to help with sleep, your book, Relax, Sleep, Thrive, Your 5-Week Journey to Peace and Restorative Sleep is something you definitely need to put in your toolbox. For sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
We have all that information on the show page. We have Amanda's all her social media links and most importantly, the link to her book as well. I think there's so much here that we could really use to help ourselves. Like for instance, some people don't realize that a good night's sleep is a great way to begin your weight loss journey. I know that was true for me. Those unwanted 5 pounds definitely began to fall off when I had a deeper sleep. And
Yeah,
the whole thing
absolutely.
around metabolism is it's really important for sleep. And wow, thank you so much for all these wonderful tips and information. It's been wonderful having you here today on the Vibe Living Podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Linus.
And thank you to all of you who've been listening. I really appreciate it when you take the time to come by and listen to these wonderful experts that really are committed, in many cases, have dedicated their lives to helping women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. Make sure you take a look at the links in the show page. If you want to find out more about me, just scroll down and you'll see all kinds of information about me. But most importantly, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any of the great information that we're sharing here, because it's all about how to vibe, how to live a vibrant lifestyle after 40, because turning 40 doesn't mean it's no life. Turning 40 and beyond means a fantastic opportunity for a great midlife. So thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again next time. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Vibe Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.